Just a brief look at the emotion and the history on display at night 2 of the Democratic National Convention here in Philadelphia an evening ago. Joining me now to discuss it all and to look ahead to a night 3, we are joined now by Pete Brodnitz, a chief pollster and longtime advisor to Senator Tim Kaine, Hillary Clinton's newly minted running mate. Pete, welcome to you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Also, Leslie Sanchez, a CBSN political contributor and Republican strategist, and next to her, Lynda Tran, back with us, CBSN contributor, Democratic strategist, also a former communications director for Tim Kaine during his tenure as governor. Again, welcome to you all. Pete, before we look ahead, though, to night 3, I want to look back at that keynote address. We saw a brief little bit of it there, the former President Bill Clinton advocating on behalf of his wife, and perhaps in advocating her various policy positions and work that she's done in the public eye, also looking to humanize her as a human being. How do you think he did?
Oh, I think he did terrific. I think the main thing that he did, as far as I'm concerned, the main thing I took away from it was that he totally debunked the idea that a vote for Hillary Clinton is a vote for more of the same in any respect. Because what he showed is that a vote for Hillary Clinton is a vote for change. It is change that is consistent with what President Obama has been doing in the last 8 years in terms of the progress that the country's made. But it is change, and that, in fact, in her whole life is about being someone who provides change. So I thought he did a terrific job of doing that. And he does it with more authority and credibility than anyone else could possibly do it.
Continuity and change, Leslie, they are strange bedfellows. The Trump campaign has already responded to the messages last night with regard to calling of Hillary Clinton as a change maker. Paul Manafort, the campaign chairman, came out and flatly called it ridiculous on CBS this morning earlier today. What did you make of that speech by the former president?
I think, first off, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you have to applaud the fact that a woman made this historic step. So that all people can share that. But I feel it was, again, a strategic calculation to try to usurp the hope and change of the Barack Obama mantra into her old and, looking back to the past, really a cycle that's been around the Clintons. The interesting thing about the Clinton family is they are so incredibly strategic. Going back 25 years, every step they take, now trying to take this change moniker, every step from everything from dropping her Hillary Rodham, if you think about it, I thought it was very interesting. He mentioned how he lost in 1980 to the big, Reagan Revolution, and he thought about it, and they recalculated. What they recalculated is they realized in focus groups and polling, which is an interesting thing, that the Hillary Rodham was biased and it was a liberal taint to it that the state was not ready for. So she dropped her maiden name and became Mrs. Bill Clinton. So things like that are really going to have forgotten. He didn't talk about that in that step. But I just think they're extremely strategic about what they do, trying to paint her in a different image. And I don't think Republicans are going to allow that to happen.
Interestingly, Lynda, it has been the criticism perhaps of not just the speech, but using Bill Clinton to try to reveal something new, again, about somebody who has existed alongside her husband in the public eye for decades now at this point. Was he able, to your mind, to make that sort of jump?
Well, as one of our colleagues said, it was really a public love letter to her. And what they really needed to get done yesterday was to humanize Hillary Clinton, to offer some details about somebody that people, as we know, have very established opinions about. The Clinton brand is as close as we've got, next to the Kennedys, to our royal family. And what Bill Clinton was able to do is to showcase what only a spouse can do, to share these little private anecdotes about their lives together. And that, I think, is very humanizing and exactly what he needed to do.
It's going to be a big night. Meanwhile, night 3, we will be hearing from Vice President Joe Biden. We will be hearing from President Obama looking to stake a case for his legacy as much as the candidate, perhaps. But we will also be hearing, and most of the country will be meeting Senator Tim Kaine for the first time tonight. Pete, we saw him address the Virginia delegation a little earlier on the program, and if it's a coming attraction, perhaps, is what we might see tonight. There was the folksy manner that I think people are starting to hear or see from him, staunch surrogacy for Hillary Clinton, but also there was a sharp edge when Donald Trump was made the subject. What do you expect to hear tonight from the senator?
Well, we've heard a lot now about defining Secretary Clinton's past. Now I assume that what we're looking at is the point where the convention starts to talk about the future. And what Senator Kaine can do very powerfully is defining the terms of the debate at this point. He's been doing that really effectively in the last couple of major public speeches he did, one before he was selected and then one after he was selected, is he's very good at explaining what the real choice is. So I think that's what it really comes down to, is him helping to define exactly what the choice is, so that when Secretary Clinton does her speech, she can also have that as a backdrop with the choice clearly defined, so she can project forward and talk about exactly what she's going to do as president.
In terms of strategy, Leslie, we were discussing earlier today, Virginia was looking good for Hillary Clinton regardless. So it wasn't necessarily just a pick to lock up a battleground state, but specifically for tonight, on a night when the country is going to meet Tim Kaine really for the first time, he is going to have to break through. On the same night, we'll hear from the sitting vice president and the sitting president. Just from a strategy perspective, how would you look to shape the evening so that happens?
I think he can. All he can do is look for those sound bites that are really going to carry the message and what he's trying to move forward. But it will be overshadowed by the president. There's no way to deny that. I think more importantly, people are going to pay attention how the president frames this, and that's going to be the takeaway we hear about tomorrow.
Lynda, what do you think?
I mean, Tim Kaine's not a sound bites kind of guy. I mean, I say this over and over and over again. Part of his power is his ability to tell a story in a way that feels normal, real, and feels like he thought it up right in that very moment. It was what was so appealing about him when she announced him in Miami, and I think it's what's going to be appealing about him tonight. One thing to keep in mind is that while he's going up alongside, in some ways, Vice President Joe Biden and President Barack Obama, these are people he feels very, very comfortable with, and I think that their values and their messages align overall, so I think it's going to be pretty seamless.
Pete, looking then at the president's speech tonight as well, it will be making a case for the policies he has put in place in his 2 terms. It is also something that Hillary Clinton has not shied away from. The criticism has come from the Trump campaign. Well, you're just going to get a 3rd term of Barack Obama. That is something she has wrapped her arms around. She freely admits, like, that is part of, perhaps the overall plan here. What do you think is riding on that speech from the president tonight?
I think it's very important that he does it. The president went to Indiana recently, and he also started to make the argument that he made a lot of very difficult decisions, but they produced good results for the country. It's vitally important. I mean, just as a political calculus, the better the president's job ratings are, the better Secretary Clinton is going to do. And in fact, the better all Democrats running for federal office around the country will do. So it is important, just as a political calculus, for the president's story to be told effectively. So I think it's very useful for him to say, first of all, as President Clinton established, she is not just a vote for continuity. She is a change maker. But it is change that's going to build on the progress we've made. And then for President Obama to provide the reminder, and we've made substantial progress.
Certainly a day circled there on the calendar. It is a day that is upon us. Lynda, Leslie will be discussing it all day long. Pete Brodnitz, very much appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you. Glad to be here.